Welcome back to the GSMC College Football Podcast on today, Tuesday, April 15th. Just talked a little bit about Max Crosby. We're going to switch gears. We're going to preview Indiana and the Hoosiers for this upcoming season. Indiana obviously had a great season last year under first-year head coach Curt Cignetti. Ended up being the 10th seed. They were in the college football playoff. I think they had a really good season last year, 10 wins, and this is a team that's going to be really interesting to watch this season. So they did lose quarterback Kurtis Rourke. He was kind of their leader. Their quarterback last year, the past two seasons, came in from Ohio, really played well for Indiana. Not a super strong quarterback, but a guy that could study the offense and kind of right the ship and get Indiana back on track. I'm honestly more of a fan of the quarterback they brought in, Fernando Mendoza, who was the Cal starter last year. I think that kid's a total gamer. He almost beat Miami and had a couple other games where it really just showcased his talent as a quarterback. And I think he could bring Indiana's offense kind of to the next level and make them even better on offense from the past season. I think that they're probably their range is a pretty big for this season. I think they could go anywhere from about 500. I think they're going to be above 500. I think it's at least a 7-win season for Indiana. Their schedule really isn't super tough this year. I think that's going to be a big part of it. They do have a couple tough road games. I'm going to talk about the schedule in a little bit. But I think the strength of their offense there is really going to drive their success this year. Their O-line is really strong unit. They return Carter Smith, who had been their left tackle since 2023, is going to be a 3-year starter now coming in this year. Has been really strong for them at that position. You kind of have the left tackle anchored. Bray Lynch is probably going to be their left guard. They brought in Pat Coogan from Notre Dame, who was a really great center for the Irish. What are your thoughts on my comment? National media. I can't stand that national media is blaming Mario. No, I don't know if it's Miami's fault. I don't really see that being the case, honestly. I think that's more of a Tennessee Nico internal kind of issue. I haven't seen a whole lot of that, but I don't really see Miami kind of being at fault there. I don't think they really had a strong role in what happened with Nico. I can understand why that might kind of be the national point of view, I guess, or perception, just from bringing in Carson Beck, giving him the contract that they did. But again, I don't think that's what Miami did is the reason for Nico. Obviously, I think he did want more money, and then he looked at that Carson Beck deal and said, hey, why don't I get something similar? ESPN Ryan Clark. Yeah, that makes sense. I really don't see it being Miami's fault, I guess. I think cause and effect are probably two different things in this case, but Nico, I think more of it is probably stemming from that high school deal, and he's saying, hey, I want this money updated to kind of be in line with the top of the market, and I don't think really Tennessee wanted to give him that. And it seemed like a big thing was just his lack of contact with Tennessee, with the coaching staff. He basically just ghosted them on Friday, on Thursday night. They hadn't really heard from him. I think that was more of just kind of why he's really gone now at Tennessee. I think there's no route back for him at Tennessee. But I wouldn't place the blame on Miami on kind of what happened there. Miami was just trying to fill a hole at their quarterback position. And I don't really think that you can blame them for kind of what's happening at Knoxville. From my point of view, I could see the argument, but personally, I don't really agree with that point of view. I think that's kind of a little bit separate. Obviously, the issue of NIL, quarterback contracts, it's all kind of tied together, but I think what happened at Miami is different from the situation at Tennessee, to where I don't know if it's really kind of what happened at Miami caused essentially Nico leaving Tennessee. I don't know if that's the case there. But, so, I think Indiana, though, they're going to be a good team this year. I think they're going to be better than people expect. Their floor, I believe, is higher than it used to be in previous circumstances, where I think their O-line, their offense is really going to be a big strength for them this season. They return Elijah Sarratt, E.J. Williams at wide receiver. Elijah Sarratt had a top 10 year as a wide receiver this past season. Excuse me, sorry. For the Hoosiers, where he's going to give Fernando Mendoza a really strong target to fall back on. And I think the wide receivers are going to be a position where they will help out their quarterback. They will not hurt their quarterback this year for Indiana. The Hoosiers, they did lose their top two running backs. They lost Justice Ellison, also lost Tyson Lawton, and they're really going to be relying on returner Kaelon Black to kind of carry that load. They also brought in Roman Hemby, Lee Jr., transfers from Maryland and UAB respectively, to kind of help carry that backfield. It seems like it's going to be more of a running back by committee type backfield, but that's kind of been a trend in football, especially in college football, the past 5-10 years, where you kind of have a running back by approach. Defense is going to be interesting for them. The D line is a little more shaky. They lost C.J. West, James Carpenter, Linnell Carr Jr., lost a couple other guys. So that's really going to be a big question mark for them. They do return Mikail Kamara. That's going to be the big guy for them on defense. Obviously, I previewed him in my top edge rushers. But then there's also going to be transfers. Jose Wheeler, as well as Dominique Ratcliffe. Those are going to be names to watch for Indiana on the D-line. Big bodies. They brought them in at D-tackle. One of those two guys is probably going to start. They're both going to play a lot for the Hoosiers. I think those are going to be two guys that could have really good years in their first year at Indiana. They also did lose both starting safeties. They lost Sean Asbury. He was third on the team in tackles. He had 69 tackles last season. Also lost Terry Jones. They did bring in some transfers in the secondary as well. Brought in Devin Boykin, Lewis Moore. Lewis Moore was interesting. He was a community college guy. Went to Indiana for a couple years. Then transferred to Ole Miss last year. Didn't really play a lot. Transferred back to Indiana this season. So he does know Indiana well, and that's going to be a position that's going to be up in the air for Indiana. They do return Amari Farrell. He's probably going to take over one of that outside cornerback spots. But the rest of those positions are really in flux right now for Indiana. And looking at their schedule, I think there's a couple games to kind of circle for the Hoosiers. Starting off in September 20th, it's their week 3 or 4. They have a couple games. Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State should kind of be warm-ups for them. You never know, but should be pretty winnable games for Indiana. I think Illinois at home, week 4, that's going to be really interesting. Illinois is another team that's been pretty strong in the past few years, but I think if Indiana wins that, then they're going 4-0 into Iowa, which, again, that's going to be a tough place to play. Iowa's always a hard place to play, and they're always a pretty strong team. Besides that, then, I think the Oregon game is going to be key for them. They do have to play at Eugene at Autzen Stadium in October, as well as playing at Happy Valley, which is going to be another tough game. But I think Oregon, Penn State, and the Illinois game are going to be the games to circle for Indiana. It's certainly possible, though, that they lose that Iowa game, possibly maybe lose against Maryland. So I think probably 7-5 is going to be the floor for Indiana. But this is a team that, if everything kind of breaks right, I think they can win 10, 11 games again this next season and potentially be in the college football playoff. So Indiana going to be another team to watch that might be kind of fun again this year. Obviously more of a basketball school traditionally, but they've been playing some pretty good football. So we are going to take another break on our show, and then when we come back, we are going to talk about another Big Ten team. We're going to switch gears, talk about Michigan a little bit, and kind of what their season looks like. But we'll be back shortly on the GSMC College Football Podcast.